We are recording this call for our YouTube channel, and it will be published on the YouTube channel, but you can look at it later on as well. So just wanted
Okay.
to add that, let everybody know it's being recorded.
Okay, so what I think I'm going to do is stop sharing so we can kind of look at each other. Oh, stop shares up there. Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, I can see you now.
Okay. So hello, Aaron, Benali, Benal, Tatiana, everybody in the call. And what I want to do is just start conversation. I think I'm going to start with Candace. And Candace has been a WEOP member, and we met a few years ago, Candace. We were having a conversation about federal contracting, and the conversation all started from there. So, Candace, I would like you to talk about, first of all, share with everybody what you do in business, the nature of
Right,
your
sure,
company.
sure. So, Candace, hello, everybody. I tried to be, I can't see where it is. I tried to be somewhat tech savvy and put my stuff there. So if you want to connect with me. But so I own Floor 23 Group, which Floor 23 Digital is a piece of, and is really the flagship business. Like that's the business that's making the money at this point in time. Um, but Floor 23 Group, so Floor 23 Digital in particular is a business where we have a heavy focus on innovation and contest and crowdsource things, even crowdsource research, that type of thing. And that business we essentially launched into that way because of that really big NASA contract that we're on. It's kind of shaped and defined the way that business is moving forward. So that's me in a nutshell. The rest of my companies, one, I've loved doing business with the government so much. And I've got a care background that I'm launching another one, Floor 23 Care. Not so much government contracts, but in a different lane. Still doing business with the government and Medicaid and everything else, and a couple other ventures, media sites and that type of thing. Some real estate stuff. That's me.
Candace, can you know in our contracting classes, we talk a lot about sole source, simplified acquisitions. Can you explain, because you were selected on what they call an IDIQ contract, and that's $175 million, and you were selected as one of the 36 vendors. Can you explain to the group in terms of how you were selected, the process that you went through to get selected and what you did,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
exactly what an IDIQ is? So what does that
Yeah.
mean? A portion of the 175 million or how it works?
Yeah, so first off, for those who don't know, IDIQ, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. So that's essentially a contract in which it's a longer term length, and the amount of money that you make on the contract is only limited by the amount that they've essentially set aside on the contract. And I don't know that it's always true that there are multiple vendors, but on this particular one, there are multiple vendors. So there still is the need to bid, but the bidding is only limited to those that are on the particular contract. So in this case, there's about 30 vendors on that particular contract. I was a class of an extra 13 that came in on that contract. And the way we won that contract, I think that was maybe the third or fourth contract that I had ever bid on. And I say that for anybody who is new out there, because I think that's inspirational. I hope it's inspirational to you, having, never been in government contracting before. But that process is, not unlike any other government contract related when you're dealing with consulting. So this particular one, I think it had like three different volumes. I don't know how many pages it ended up being. I got a lot of support too from my local, I think they're called Apex Accelerators, the PTACs, to just sort of help and look through things, and submitted it. And I don't know, 6 months later, got a call from the NASA contracting officer and was like, ah. So that's essentially how it works. And that particular one is a 5-year contract. So it's 5 years, 175 million. They're constantly putting out different task orders. Again, you're still you're competing on them, but it's much smaller, and so it's more advantageous. So they tell you what the not to exceed price is, right? Sometimes it's 700,000, sometimes it's 30,000, sometimes it's 75,000, and you're only writing a maximum of 5 pages. So like get it in and move on. So that's what that looks like.
So, Candace, have you been able to make money from the contract? Like, so
Yes.
far since you.
Yeah. So far, I think we did, I don't know, maybe like 300,000 or something like that, maybe so far on that contract. And that really is tip of the iceberg. I think I was telling Auntie Annette the other day, I'm like, we have all these little ones that are coming in. We need the big ones that are like 300, 500, 600. And so just with anything, right? When we're talking about contracting, it's that consistency. It's that what is the information that you know? Sometimes, right? In most cases, you can get that feedback that moves forward. In this case, it's a little bit different because they're issuing so many task orders, but you never stop, right? You have something that is just as valuable as the next person around you. So you just keep going, keep going, keep going.
So,
Okay.
Candace, that's 300,000 per year or per a couple
No,
years?
this is just the amount that we have pulled from that contract so far. So I think it was it mid 2022, late 2022 that we had got like the first one.
Okay.
So just so far. Yeah. And that's over like maybe 3 or 4 or something like that, smaller task orders, maybe 5. Because there were like some $30,000 ones and 75. So all that together.
So you call that small? Okay.
Oh, listen. At
Let's
this
do.
point in time, I call it small when you see
Okay.
like not to exceed prices of 375,000, 500,000, that type of thing. I'm like,
Okay.
okay, we need to move up the chain because
Okay.
it's just
I hear you. Yeah. Go for the money.
So basically, since the contract is 175 million, that you're part of a pool that over the next 5 years you'll be able to on a continued basis. So basically, you could conceivably get a contract a month or several contracts a month if you complete the
yep,
task.
yep, yep. And they have, just like everything with the government is seasonal, right? You'll see like there's a certain time of year, like maybe about, oh, I don't know, maybe like May, June, April, May, June in there where it starts. It's like every week they got 3 or 4 coming out, versus the beginning of the year where it's like, well, maybe 2 or 3 may come out for the whole month or something like that. So it just kind of varies.
So
And who
you
else
are
are you?
guaranteed money. You guarantee the income from this project.
Yeah, so the only thing that they guarantee, so when you do, and I don't know if this is true for all IDIQs, but for us, what was guaranteed is a minimum of $3,000. That's what they will guarantee you. So at the end of 5 years, you've made nothing, you've made $3,000. But if you're on a $175 million contract, it's only it's only like 30 or less vendors. I think it's maybe a little fewer than that. I don't know. But anyway, if you're on that, you unless you're horrendous and there's, a number of task orders, you should be able to be pulling money off that contract.
Okay.
So what is your goal for how much you think that are you looking to get maybe make at least a certain dollar amount a month, or what is your goal, your contracting goal
You know, I have not overall or for this contract.
for overall? Because you have
Well,
some other contracts that you're working on as well, right?
yeah. We've got some non-federal government stuff too. Um, so my overall goal, and I did make a note on this like last, I don't know, maybe it was October. And you remind me that I need to revisit this and put this in front of my face. But I think I said I wanted to secure at least $1 billion in contracts. Now, have I completely laid my path? Not completely, but oh, I've been working hard. I've been working. And when I say that, I don't mean like, I don't mean like, oh, I've been filling out a whole bunch of proposals because I don't believe I get to 1 billion contracts by me being the only person doing the proposals. So I say that I've been working on our team and our process, literally process for how I can help my team understand strategy, right? And I've got the writers, I've got people who can insert graphics, I got people who are quality checking, people who are moving things through. Like that's what I've been working hard on, so that we can get to that number. That's bigger than me.
Did you get a chance to meet the other vendors on the project?
Um, so I have met them through like every once in a while they'll have like their update call where like if you've asked any questions, they'll answer everybody's questions and all that other stuff. So I met them from the perspective that I've seen them. There is one person from a company who actually reached out to me about working for our team as opposed to their team. I'd met him personally, and got a little bit of insight, but that's about it. No other type of networking type besides like, well, let me take that back. That's not true because I have had some conversations with other vendors where we've talked about partnering because you can do that as well,
Okay.
on the contract. So yeah, I have had some conversations and individuals with some of the other competitors. Yeah.
The space is pretty diverse. Black women, black men. It's pretty a diverse space, you would say. It's not? Okay.
On this contract? On this
Yes.
Yes.
contract?
Yeah.
No, no, no,
Are you the
no.
only? Okay.
I think I'm the only black face I've ever seen
Oh, okay. It's
Oh,
interesting. Okay.
on,
And
yeah,
and
on
a
this
woman
contract.
too. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen some women, and again, I don't know the mix of like women-owned companies, blah, 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 but I can almost tell you for sure. I don't think there's any other black-owned company on this contract from the faces I've seen.
That's interesting. Okay.
and I wanted to leave it open for anyone else in the audience if they have any questions at all. This is your chance to ask $1 million contractor.
I do have a question. So good evening. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
I'm Chichio Kezi. I'm based in Metro Atlanta, Georgia. And so my business is called Simple Networking. And Simple Networking focuses on professional development training and online, in person, and virtual. And my question for Candace is, Candace, congratulations on your contract and continued success. And no, $1 billion is not a lot, in my opinion. I think you can definitely
That's
do
what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking
um,
about.
so my question was in regards to, Georgia Tech, PTAC, and Apex. Was there anything extra that you had to do to prepare? Like you, of course, had to be registered with possibly NASA and SAM. Did you have any other certifications to position you to get this position or this
Um,
opportunity? Excuse me.
You know what? That's a good question. So let me take this time to say, I still don't fully have my women-owned, women-owned, my WOSB, my women. Oh, y'all know what I'm trying to say. My mind
Yeah,
is not.
Women-owned
WSB
small
certification.
Thank
business.
Yeah.
you. Thank you. I still do not have that, to this day. So I don't even know what's taking my application so long. So that's a note for me to check in on.
Mhm.
But anyway, I say that to say when I approached the Apex team, the one thing that I had and the preparation that I had was like I'm a studier. So I had went through Auntie Annette help me, whichever course it was,
The prime
prime.
time. The
Yeah,
prime
yeah.
time.
So I had like went through that in like 2 days and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Because listen, there was like a little bit of fire behind me because what I had been doing in business and what I was doing, like my cost to get a customer was too high. So I was spending all this money and not seeing the return. So I was like, okay, government contracting needs to work for me. So
Mhm.
anyway,
Yeah, and
I
I want
had
to say that you were one of my fastest students. When you and I talked, and I said, Candace, think about federal contracting. I never saw anybody look over that material as fast as you did. So you
well,
were like,
okay,
I mean, you were on fire. I was like, I
I'm
tell
telling
everybody the story because I say that when you want to get into federal contract, you have to study, you have to know the market.
you.
And would you in
Yep.
2 days?
Yep, in 2 days. I went through it in 2 days. And so, besides going through that, like I'm looking at stuff online, like I'm trying to piece it all together. So, when I got to the Apex, and I had met with the lady, and I think I had already started bidding, and like through that process of bidding, like when you're seeing it for the first time, there's so much you don't know, right? So it's forcing me. I was trying to self-learn. So I remember one of the first reviews that I did with the lady at the PTAC, and by the way, she was a former contracting officer for Veterans Affairs, which
Oh,
I thought
Jennifer
was
White, possibly Jennifer White.
no. This
Oh,
was
no?
Carol Murphy in Wisconsin. I'm in Wisconsin,
Oh,
by the way.
okay, okay, okay. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yep. And so when I got finished with my conversation with her, I was asking all these questions because I did some studying. So like I knew like to connect a few dots. And she was like, "Are you sure this is your first time?" Like, this is my first time. Look, I just I have read up. I know a little bit, whatever. But I didn't have all like the certifications. I was registered in SAM.gov. I got that down, right? I knew what my next codes were that I was going after. Like that stuff I knew, but that was the only real preparation.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? And Candace, what other contracts are you working on now? You have the NASA contract. What else are you doing with your company? And can you share, do you have any subcontracting opportunities for any of the ladies here? And how would you
Yeah, so
recommend with prime contractors that have subcontract opportunities?
yeah. So we're often always doing subcontract stuff. It just depends on, what it is. So let me answer both questions. Start with the subcontract one. We almost always have subcontract opportunities depending on what it is. So there have been folks that I've came off this call and we have, put in proposals together and blah, blah, blah. We haven't won yet any, together, but I'm always like, okay, how do that to me, that's part of the 1 billion in contracts. The 1 billion in contracts is just for me. The 1 billion in contracts, and especially for my Black women in business, because that's a passion of mine to help, and support along the way. So yes, there's always opportunities, like reach out to me. I'm trying to get smarter by narrowing in on what we go after. Again, to help the proposal team to be able to do this right and to just kind of make everything simpler. To your other point, so one of the other contracts that we work on today, so we have a youth innovation offering. So youth innovation entrepreneurship, it's called Young Agile and Digital Entrepreneurs. So what we're currently doing is we're on contract with Milwaukee Public Schools, which is Milwaukee Public Schools is the largest school district in Wisconsin. So we do primarily in their summer program. We tried doing it during the school year. It's not quite at success yet. But we have that we do as well. So that's another big contract that we tackle. But a lot of the stuff that we do now is NASA related. We do go after other opportunities too, just to diversify. And then we've got our software product. So we've been basically using what we've gained from the government contracts and the money, because our profit margin is pretty high, to be able to invest in building out that software product that we have for managing contests and competitions and giveaways. And so our plan is to also have like a direct channel, business to business channel with the software product.
Okay. Okay. So I'm looking forward to utilizing one of your softwares that you have. And that you can share with the group. Like I love that because a lot of people doing well, not a lot, but I like that innovation challenge. And you talked about crowdfunding kind of software platforms that as business owners we can utilize. So I'm getting ready to run a business competition utilizing that software would be great. And that's a crowdsourcing platform that you discussed as well, right? It's
Yep. So it's all about contests, competitions, giveaways. So being able to manage that, design it, manage it, have the legal stuff, be able to, if you're doing like giveaways, a lot of people do giveaways and things like that, but those can be leads, right? How are you managing those leads and having the reporting for it and the ability to manage it well and contact the people and do the voting, especially if you're in larger competitions. Again, something that we learned off of that NASA contract. How do you do judging well across multiple people and multiple things and all that stuff? So that's really what it's about. And it is, so for everybody's reference, we've got our version 1 that I'm not in love with, right? That's why we haven't started like heavily advertising. But our version 2 is in progress. So it's soon to roll out where we can really communicate out and get people in.
And Candace, can you share your email? And somebody said in the chat that they cannot read your code. Can you put
Oh, is
your,
it not? Yes,
is
I
it,
can.
how do you, yeah, they said they
Yep.
can't read.
That's my first time trying this little code thing. So that's good feedback if like no one can see it.
So do you put your
Can't
phone over
just-
and it's supposed to read it? I mean, let me see if my phone will work.
That's
Let me
That
like,
do
was
it.
me.
yeah,
I tried to scan it and it didn't work for some
it's
reason.
not acting right. Okay. Well, let me put this in
Oh,
here.
no, it worked perfectly for me.
Really?
But you
Maybe
just
I have to pin
hold
her.
your phone over, like your camera over, right over it. It works perfectly.
Okay.
So you can send it there. I have multiple email addresses at this point.
Yeah, because what
Um,
happens is your picture, look, everything comes up.
I'm
That's
so in
great. So
love with that app now. Like,
that's
it's free,
great for
by the
Zoom
way.
because what we can do now for Zoom calls, we can just have that there. People can just scan it and everything comes up.
Yes.
Okay.
That is, I recently discovered that on a trip. Somebody else had it, and I was like, "Ooh, you want to do this?"
Okay. Thank you, Candace. So we're gonna make a slight Trent. Marilyn, we can't hear you.
What app is she using for the code?
Blink.
Blink. Blink.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it might be. I think it might be BLIN. I think it might be Q.
Okay.
Maybe.
It
Maybe
is
not.
Q,
It's Q.
BLINQ,
Okay.
that me.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to do a quick pivot. We're going to hear from Dr. Yvette Gavin. She's going to talk about her business, and she's also going to share some opportunities with us. And
Yeah.
then we'll open back up and have another enlightened discussion. So, Dr. Gavin, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Antoinette and Mary. I'm always excited when I get a chance to be here and to share. So I was looking in the names to see if there was anyone that I already know, that I've already met, but I didn't quite see anyone yet. So I do look forward to, having an opportunity to meet each of you ladies. Well, I am Yvette Gavin, and I am the owner of the YGC Group, which is Yvette Gavin Consulting. That's a transition that I made this year because as we're moving and expanding the business, I started in 2016 with Yvette Gavin Consulting. I left my corporate position and started, this business. But as the business has grown, now I'm 7 years in, I realized I needed to pivot and make a change. And so that group component is to show that it's not just Yvette anymore. I've been able to grow the business where I've been bringing in several contractors to help me fulfill, the commitment and some of the work that I've been able to secure. So moving forward, I set a goal that I want to get to. I haven't set that billion. I want to reach over a billion people. But from an income perspective, the goal is to get to that 2.5 million. I've already have been doing work with the CDC since I started my business. So when I took the training course on how to get contracts through WEOP, it also put a fire under me because I realized I was doing like little small task orders. I didn't know that when I started. I was just so grateful to get that first CDC training contract with the university there. But I realized that there were bigger opportunities for me. And so I started going after those larger contracts. So for me, it's just been a great relationship with the CDC. I've just been growing, growing, growing beyond the university, meeting actual managers that are, or not just managers or directors that are over different divisions. And then the word of mouth or referrals. So you do a great job. People will talk about your work. I guess they're going to do it anyway, right? Whether it's good or bad, but making sure that you're delivering work at a certain level and a certain quality, people will just start passing your name around when they're in need of certain type services and products. So that's how I've been able to grow within the CDC. This year, my goal is to do $1 million just with the CDC. The expansion is the work that I've been doing with the DoD. And so I've had the opportunity to start actually networking with a lot of the local guards, and every state have them. Every single state has some type of, whether from all the branches too. That's the other thing I've learned. And so I've been tapping in there. I started there. That was part of my strategy. So I would say I agree with everything that Candace said. I mean, I was just going like, yes, 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 yes. I've experienced that. That's so right. But getting in there and building contacts, that's the one thing that I wanted to just add, because I don't want to repeat everything that she's already shared, because I agree with everything. I've experienced most of that. I haven't secured an IDIQ contract. So that's just something else that I need to look at. But what I was focusing on coming into this year was securing a contract that had terms. So a sole source that has a 2 to 3 year term. That was my goal. I want a training contract, or I'll be supplying resources that will help augment training or some level of leadership coaching on some of these military facilities. And so that's our primary focus. I am now today actually recruiting for resources to help me fulfill some of this work. And so there are 4 areas of resources that we're recruiting for right now today. One is instructional designer. The other one is a certified coach, preferably someone that has an ICF, the International Coaching Federation certification, but they don't have to necessarily, because there are some opportunities out that where you don't have to have that certification in the government. And usually when they require one, is typically will be that ICF. So that's why I want to make sure I have people on my team that has that certification. And then I need 2 project managers and then 2 corporate trainers. So that's where we're focusing on building up the team. So I have resources that I'm working with in each one of those capacities, except for the instructional designer. And as Candace was talking about, she can't be the only person that's doing proposals on her team and really grow the business the way she wants to. I'm the same way. And I identified that last year. So my personal assistant now is actually writing my proposals, because it was just a matter of just training her, showing her, our way, our style. And she already understood and knew the business, because she's been a part of this team, for several years. But now she's out there in SAMS.gov. She's in GovTribe. That's a tool that we use to find opportunities. And she's minding these things. And then I have a checklist on what things we will go after, and what things that we're probably going to just say no. I love referring. So when I see things that I'm like, that's not something that I'm going to go after, but I will refer it. So for instance, today I got a phone call from the CDC wanting to know if I was available to do some DE&I training. I've made a personal decision not to do that training. I have a personal certification in it. I could do it, but I've decided that's not my wagon. I don't want to pull that one. But I know other trainers, right? I network all the time. And so I was able to do a handshake today, right before I got on. This is why I was running a little late, because the person that I did the handshake with, my client at the CDC, have already contacted her, and she's sending over quotes. So hopefully there will be some book of business that she will be able to get. She's never done work with the CDC. So this would be a great opportunity for her to actually connect with them and get in. So I'll pause there. I feel like, I've said a lot. I'll stop there.
I do have a question, because I know some people who do DE&I training. Now, do you sometimes because sometimes I recommend to my entrepreneurs, if it's a contract that is not in your wheelhouse or you're not interested in doing, you can still secure it and you can still contract out and monitor the work. Is that a strategy I guess because you have so much work right now, it's something that you
Yes, absolutely. Because that's what I am doing. The other part of my business, and he even said that. He said, well, would she be working through you? This particular person won't be, but that's exactly what I do. I'm doing that every day, all day. I'm bringing in work, but I'm not physically doing it. I'm just securing the resource, and then I'm managing that person, making sure that the work is getting done, and payroll, making sure that they get paid. So we invoice. Government pays me, then I pay them. But in this case, since this is a person that's actually a personal friend of mine, she actually lives out in California. And because of the work relationship, her business is almost identical to mine, other than she only focused on DE&I and she hasn't secured any government business. And we met last month, and this is something we had talked about. She was like, I really want to get in this space with you, but I don't really want to manage her, part of because of the relationship. So I don't even want to go through that process. So I'll just really give that to her. And she's done that for me in the past too. I've done work with Ernst & Young. She, through all that business that I've secured with them to me. So that, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? I don't want to jump in because I do have another one. Anybody else?
I do have a question. Thank you, Dr. Gavin, for being on here as well. Great information. And I'll just ask you the same question that I asked Candace earlier. What did you do to prepare for getting these contracts or these opportunities outside of, referrals, word of mouth, and building those relationships?
So almost the same thing that Candace did, to be honest. So my first course was the one here that we offered. I learned a lot in that course. And believe it or not, even though I had one or two, I think I actually had two small work orders that were around $10,000 with the CDC, I was able to take one training that I was getting paid $10,000 for to $30,000. And that happened right after the training that I took at WEOP. And here's how I was able to leverage some things there. I knew I was going to get a certification coming out of WEOP. It was like, no question, I have to get certified. So I do have my Woman-Owned Small Business certification. That opened doors for me, and it gave me an opportunity to actually bid in a smaller pool. And I really prefer that. And then the second thing I learned in a course that really, really has helped me from the planning perspective of my business is understanding the government cycle. So even though I had already secured two small work orders before the training, the WEOP training, I didn't even know their fiscal year. So they actually start, they get new money in October. So there's a reason why you have to understand. I tell anybody that does federal contracting, you got to know how to save some money because there is these lows, and the government is always talking about, those people up in the White, on Capitol Hill.
Shut down.
Yes. So you have to be prepared. My husband be looking at stuff coming in. He'd be like, well, can't we do that? I was like, we going to hold on that for a minute because I want to make sure that you like now, like even today, there's a stance. Like if that unit or purchasing officer didn't already have money that they've already allocated, they could spend. Now they have to stop. Because I even asked the client I called today. I said, I thought y'all weren't spending. He said, this is different. We already had it set aside. We got a special approval, so we can push this through and pay the vendor. So it's like, okay. So you have to understand those things. So for me, and I think it's because of the line of work, my phone is always like blowing up around September. So I personally hate that because it's my birthday month and I want to do things to celebrate my birthday.
When is your birthday, Dr. Gavin?
And what I learned is
when is your birthday? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
The 18th, September 18th.
Okay, I'm September 10th.
September 3rd. Yes. Virgos, I love it. So with that, I just had to start pacing my work so I can anticipate this because, of course, I want the business, right? So for me, I anticipate getting last minute calls for training because they have some money that they need to spend before that full fiscal year ends. I pretty much know the first of the year that a lot of those contracts are going to be going to veteran-owned women, those type. Native American type small companies because they're trying to get this money out. So I say all this to say, it's just like doing your homework, doing the study. I go to as many meetings I can fit in my calendar as it relates to government contracting. Like I'm a part of Apex as well. So I've had them to review my proposal. So getting people to give you some honest feedback on your work is very important because, if you like me, you think everything you do is good. So just having someone else, to put their eyes on it and say, hey, why don't you consider doing this? Or why don't you consider going to this particular meeting? And I tell people it's nothing like you showed up today. I can guarantee you every person that's here is going to walk away with something. And that's what I had to learn. Those who show up, they go up. And that's just it, period. We cannot grow our businesses just staying in our offices, whether it's a home office or a brick and mortar outside. We have to make those connections. which is why I love this organization, because that's what WEOP is all about, is helping us get there, make those connections. So it's doing the homework, understanding your client. The other thing that I have learned, just trying to help some other sisters with their business, is that they were bidding in places that weren't even buying their products, or they were sending out, email and capability statements to agencies, federal agencies, and they weren't even in the market to buy their services or their product. So first thing is like knowing who your buyers are. And so you notice I said I'm focusing on CDC this year, and I'm focusing on building my business with the DoD. I do have some non-government contracts, but what I'm learning is that I'm enjoying doing the government work, more than I am enjoying doing the corporate work, which is a huge shift for me coming out of corporate. But it took a lot of work for me to get to the place where I'm very comfortable in this space. And I feel that we have a lot of value that we can add in this space. Because as we're working with these government employees, I mean, some of the feedback has just been phenomenal, and the connections that we're making with these students and these leaders, understanding that they really value a lot of things that I would say for those of us who come out of corporate that we may have just taken for granted when it comes to some leadership skills. So I love the government space. It's not that I'm not going to accept any non-government work, because I have one contract now that continues on for another 2 years that's non-government. But my focus now is securing money and building the business through government contracting.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And are you based here in Atlanta? I'm sorry.
I am. I'm in Atlanta.
Okay, great.
I want to add to that. Let me add to that. You made something really important, that you can even start off small. Some people start away from getting small contracts, because once you get something small, you can get in and start knowing people, and it will lead to something bigger. So I always say that, if you see something small, go after it, because it could get you a chance to get to know everybody in the contracting space and know the people, and it can lead to something bigger, because we have done that as well.
It's very important. Oh, I'm sorry.
I had a quick question. So I can tell that there is something that you do very well, and it is definitely in the networking, the connecting, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I'm trying to bring everybody else in.
Oh, okay. And that's probably one of the things that we don't do as much. Like, we got a mean proposal game, but we're not always out there doing things. So I would love to learn if there are any tips or suggestions you have about just that human side of getting out there and connecting, and what you would say on it.
Yes, definitely staying connected and getting to know the person. So I'll tell you, the very first proposal I submitted to the CDC, I did not win, but I wanted to know why. So I did make that request. I had that conversation, and it was when I first started my business, and the feedback was that we never fulfill a proposal when there's only one person in the company. And then the lady went ahead and explained to me, if the vendor is sick on the day for the training, what's going to happen, right? And so they couldn't afford that. So she says that was the only thing. Everything else she said in my proposal was right on. It answered the mail, and it was good. So I thought, oh, wow. I didn't know that going in. So I never made that mistake again, of course. But the next thing I was able to do was to reach out to this person. You have to know the FAR. Know what these rules are. You have to know the FAR, because even a lot of the government employees, what I have learned, don't necessarily know.
Yes, that's so true. They don't even know the FAR. And that's what we teach in our class. You have to know the FAR.
Yes, you have to know it. And the reason I say that is because this particular person, I want to do a thank you, but there are requirements. So I could take a client out, or a potential client out to lunch. I could buy them a book, but I better make sure I'm not spending a lot of money, because there are rules around it, $25 or less. And anything over, they need to be reporting it. So I remember with this particular person just saying, well, can I just at least buy you lunch? I like to talk a little bit more. In that, this person did say yes to the lunch. then when we were start talking about where, this person recommended a place, and I said, hey, I would really absolutely love to take you there, but they are typically here, and I know our hands are tied by the FAR, and we can only go to a place that's within this price bucket. And the feedback was, I didn't even know that, and I was like, yeah, because what I'm not trying to do is be kicked out and cannot and be penalized and can't do any other business with the government. It will really, it can hurt us as vendors. So that was one thing. I use my newsletter to do a lot of upfront networking with people. So like if I go out to a meeting, like I went over to the Apex Small Business, I forgot the actual term, roundtable that they had last month. And you better believe I was up there getting folks information and sending information out and asking, can I add you to my newsletter? And then I listen to what people are telling me what their needs are. And then I'll just put it in my newsletter. So for instance, I just sold innovation training. And I know this is going to be on YouTube, but it's okay. We do it all the time as business owners. We sell stuff sometime while we're building it. And so in this case, I haven't completely finished building out this course, but when I heard that, oh, there's a need for this type training, I made sure that I added that, talked about it in my most recent newsletter, sent it out to that person. Then I added a private note back to this person saying, hope you've had an opportunity to open our recent newsletter, blah, 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 blah. We put information in on concerning innovation training, radical innovation, I think is what we named it. And now that got me another meeting with this person that has led me to an opportunity for some business. So I just believe in networking. I go to networking events. That's another big thing that I'm good with, whether it's virtual or is in person. And I like just saying thank you. I mean, I went to the CDC Small Business Summit, and I was very, very surprised with a piece of feedback that I just got today, that of all the people there, it was a free event, ton of great information for vendors. And this person said to me, you're one of few who actually sent a thank you note back. And I was like, I can't even believe that. I barely can believe that. But it's the little things that we can do that that you can do to set yourself apart, so people will notice you and see your work.
That's awesome. Thank you. That newsletter piece is gold.
Yeah.
All of it's gold, but oh my God, thank you.
And do that follow-up too sometimes.
I have a question in the chat. It says, I have a question from Betty Davis. And then it says, could you have contract staff part of your proposal to qualify?
I'm not sure if I understand. Do I have contract staff?
And this is a question for both of you. It says, could you have contract staff? So basically, if
1099.
can you have contracts part of you to qualify for a larger proposal?
Absolutely.
And that Betty asked that question.
Yes, absolutely you can. And if you can't, it will tell you in the request for a proposal. They're very clear about their rules and regulations where it comes to staffing. So for instance, there are some proposals that will say, if you're even partnering with someone, that the prime has to do a certain percentage of the work. I haven't yet seen a proposal that actually would exclude me from bringing in 1099 resources. So for the type work that I bid on, I haven't seen that. The majority of my staff, I only have one full-time person outside myself, and everyone else I work with that's on my team, they're 1099.
Thank you. Thank you. I did have a quick comment. Oh, sorry, Candace, did you?
If I can just say something really quickly. The thing, so to Yvette's point, generally, this is all about how you think about this. So like if you're bringing in a whole nother company as a subcontractor, that's one thing. But if you've got, contract resources and they are a part of your team, they don't care. They don't need to know. They don't need to be considered a subcontractor. They just part of the team. So like, just know that there's that difference. You're not limited. Like they're not automatically considered subcontractors because they're a contractor. Those things don't equate.
Interesting. Thank you. I did want to make a quick comment and keep up with the time. Because Dr. Gavin, I am definitely looking for subcontracting opportunities within my company. And I am women-owned certified with SBA and recently with the state of Georgia. That was yesterday. But one of the things that I was very focused on for small business to make my business more competitive and less risk adverse was learning more about cybersecurity. So I did do a cybersecurity readiness course and got a certificate, as well as project management through Google. And I can put that link in the chat as well, because that was free for, and it is free for business owners. Okay. So you learn project management, data analytics, cybersecurity, digital marketing, and then also in regards to ethics and integrity. I took a course on ethics and integrity with Lockheed Martin, which was really interesting. And I can also send that information as well. It's online now. And it talked a lot about the things that you mentioned, Dr. Gavin, about government, and not just government agencies. I've had, let me knock on wood, still have, right? Business with Georgia Power. And they have rules very similar to that, almost kind of like quasi-government, because they have to be regulated, and they're not allowed to accept any type of gratuity, actually. So yes, yeah. So it does depend on that particular organization. So one of the things I started doing when I want to connect or network, Candace, and build relationships is to also ask HR and ask my contact person, what are your policies for engaging with clients and affiliates? Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, great feedback, great feedback. And I want to say that, like, right before the pandemic hit, we were rocking and rolling. We had our course at, and this is the one Dr. Gavin attended. We had a primetime contract course we had a partnership with Atlanta Technical College. And in that class, we had 25 ladies in that particular training class. And we met for 6 weeks, 2 hours. So that was 12 hours of training where we went over research, all the contracting vehicles, how to understand the FAR. So it was pretty comprehensive. We just not have picked up on the course, now we're in post-pandemic and there's still a lot of things going around, but I think it might be something that we revisit, because that course was so well attended. People love getting together. It's nothing like getting together with a group full of women on the same mission, doing the same kind of things. So I'm going to revisit that as it gets warmer, to say maybe we should go back to the college, meet for 6 weeks to just have a really good course.
And I just want to add, Antoinette, another great value, because I still use this process today. You taught us how to go and see what the government has spent on previous type work, which is really important. Like, I love when Candace said with the contractor she has, she got a chance to see what they're willing to spend. What I don't like is just being out here in the blind, and I don't know I don't want to overprice my services, right? When I'm sitting out, I would call blind bids. So I use that process. I go and I look and I was like, have this agency purchase this type training before? When was the last time they did this? And then I go and see who won the bid. And you taught us that. I can see what was the value of it. Then I go study that company. And so now I was like, oh my gosh, I've learned so much just being able to do that level of research.
And one of the things we recommend is that I think every entrepreneur should have what we call a contracting plan of action. Just like you have a business plan, I really think that you should have a diverse contracting plan in terms of where your revenue is going to come from, how you're going to do it. And that should be your attack list every month, to just do that. So I think and that's one of the things that we do in class, is to sit down and decide specifically. A lot of times you want to do contracting, but you don't have a clear-cut plan about how you want to do contracting. And I always like our primetime course, because we are women of color. There are opportunities because we fit into a socioeconomic program that we're not taking advantage of. When I go to a lot of these sessions they have a lot of people who don't look like us who are attending, and they're getting this information and knowledge, and they're pursuing these opportunities, and we need to take advantage of these programs. And I think that Candace and Yvette, you both serve as shining examples that this can happen. Like Yvette, in your case, you transitioned in 2016, you transitioned from corporate. You're now making a living for yourself and other contractors. Yeah. That's beautiful, because we have to go on jobs and they have to pay us and we don't make, so why not do it for yourself? I mean, it just makes sense, right, Candace? It makes sense. how can you work for yourself? But if you study, do your research, and be methodical in your approach. And one thing that I found, and I could do my contracting class over and over again. I have the students like yourself and Candace that will take that information and go to the moon with it. And then I have students who like I could talk to 6 months later and say, "Did you do X, Y?" No, I didn't get to. I'm so busy. And I'm like, "You're leaving money on the table. What's going on?" Just follow strategies to earn revenue.
And if I can say really quickly, Antoinette, so for me, and I know this is true for Yvette also, but so full-time entrepreneurs, right? So like the money has to be made. Like that's the thing. And even if you're not yet, exactly. So even if you're not yet a full-time entrepreneur, just having that mindset of like, if it's your goal, which I assume it's everybody's goal on here on this call, you probably wouldn't be here, to be in that space if you're not yet, in your head, planting just this seed of, okay, this has to work because I have no other option. Even if you do have another option, I think it drives a different behavior change. And to your point also about thinking bigger than yourself. Because if you're comfortable with just you eating in your household, well, whatever. But if you want your impact to be bigger, again, it drives a behavior change. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. And and I want to leave it open. Are there any other questions from some of these wonderful entrepreneurs on the call? Do you have, Mary?
I think what kind of opportunities do you have for contractors? You mentioned you had some opportunities and that you wanted to share with us.
What are the requirements for the curriculum designers? Are you looking for a certain software platform? Could you share that a little?
No certain one at all. I mean, it would be wonderful if the person, I mean, some of the tools that we're currently using are actually free tools. Like I use Canva a lot, to design pages, but we're very open. I just need someone that I could just give them the requirements and then we work out and agree to an outline and then they build the training out for me.
Okay. And what topics are you covering your training on?
So right now they're all in the area of leadership, like personal branding is one, but they're all in the area of leadership. Strategic planning is another one that we need to build out. And so that's the government one. But, I mentioned I do have some trainings that I'm doing outside of the federal government. And so those are usually around entrepreneurship type work that we're doing. And so I have 4 courses that we need to build out this year for a corporate client. And it's all about how to help entrepreneurs. So that's training is a little different.
Do you ever use any AI to help you generate your training materials? Because that's any AI like ChatGPT, whatever, because that's an awesome tool. They build out a lot of, so when you hire people, they probably utilize the AI tools to build out training sessions as well.
Yeah, so we started doing that last year. So believe it or not, I was not doing that previously. But when my personal assistant, who is now, she is actually like one of our designers, but she started using chat. And I was like, oh, this copy is so great. And then she explained it to me. So I'm using it almost every day now. If I need to write an important email, I would, put the thoughts in and then I kick it over there and it just comes out really clean and crisp. So yes, that's the one we're using.
And it's important the prompts you use. You give it the right prompts. Yeah. You give it the right prompts. Yeah. Anna?
We're going to let Angela ask a question so we won't run out of time. Angela, go. We can hear you.
Angela, you're on mute.
Angela?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so sorry. Dr. Gavin, one of my area of expertise is in leadership and entrepreneurship. Okay. And I was wondering if I could get your contact information because I would love to talk to you offline. And I'm actually working on launching my own leadership and entrepreneurship podcast, which should go live like in April. So I'm always collecting. I've got a lot of information. So I would love to see how I could, help. We can probably partner and do some things.
I would love that. And I just put my email address in the chat. And now I'm going to put my website.
Okay.
All of it's like an extension of my name.
And Katisha has a question as well. Katisha?
Well, I know that we're short on time, so I at least want to take the opportunity just to introduce myself and say hello and just say thank you. It was great just to listen to Dr. Yvette and Candace with your information. I'm actually, you talked about Project Grant. I'm actually I'm PMP certified, but I do consulting, but I do have executive coaching company that I have, and I run a peer advisory group for some of the top executive women in some of the top Fortune 500 companies here in Atlanta. So I've been doing that for 3 years, and between project management and leadership, I have to say executive coaching and leadership is that's my jam.
So I would say, please, if any of you, because I'm interested in working with each of you, if you're interested in doing some, contract work with me, then please, 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 let me know. Either send me an email. We have like where you could actually connect with us on the website. If you go to the careers tab, and there's a place where you could put your info in, and we will definitely get back with you right away.
And I want to ask the group something. I'm having a event. Well, it's not really an event. We support a group of entrepreneurs from the Atlanta housing, and they're low-income women that are trying to launch and build their businesses. I'm doing an event for them on March 16th. We got laptops donated, and I wanted to know if any of you ladies would like to come out and maybe speak to the group or share your expertise. We're going to be meeting on March 16th from 12 o'clock noon to 2 o'clock. And I love to let them see other entrepreneurs that are doing great things. So if anyone's interested, shoot me an email. We're also going to have the official supply diversity officers from the Atlanta housing there as well, because they support those entrepreneurs. So just let me know. I'm going to put my email in the chat box for everyone to reach out to say, hey, I would be interested in coming out and supporting what you do with that entrepreneurship group, because we're always looking for mentors and business coaches to help. When they say reach back, each one reaches back to support a woman in business. This is your way of supporting as well. So just let me know. Any show of hands of anybody interested? Okay, great. Okay, I'm putting mine. Hey, WEOP.
Yeah, and don't forget about the March event. Invite anybody to the March event.
We are having our 2-day women's conference. Oh, I'm putting in the wrong email address. At the AT&T facility, March 28th and 29th. And what we're going to do is, in fact, Latoya is on our team that spearhead that. We have a lot of, you know what? I'm going to send out an agenda. I have so many speakers at that particular event. We're doing leadership, we're doing business, we're doing an innovation pitch. So I'm going to make sure, because you're all on our mailing list, so you're all going to get detailed information. And we're also going to the state capitol on March 5th. So anybody wanting to join us at the state capitol on March 5th, please let me know. And you can always go to weop.org and look at our current events. But my email is ball.a@weop.org. Okay.
And hey, and if I could say, if any of the women on here have a item as far as like vending, we're having a marketplace. So if you had something that would be of benefit to these women who are there, we have a marketplace for a small amount of vendors, about 10 is what we're focusing on right now. So if you have a product, an item, please reach out to me. I'll put my email address in here right now as well. But as Antoinette said, she'll send out the information, but that is something we're looking for that event.
And Candace, let me know if you want to come to Atlanta. We will support you. So let me know, okay?
Trust me, I'll plan to it at some point here.
Yes, come. I would love to meet you.
I will. Listen, I just got back from Seattle a couple of weeks ago. I will travel and come. That's for sure.
And I wanted to make one more announcement, because we're going to do a series of what I call Inno Labs. And we're bringing small groups of women together to do specific tasks. Like if you want to do an RP together, we want you to do a deep dive into specific topics and connect on a different kind of level. So we're in the process of identifying our leaders for those labs. And we're going to focus in on topics that we can do. Like if you want to integrate AI, if you want to do an RFP together, if you want to do research, because we're all about building community. And one thing that fuels you sometimes is just being around other like-minded women to talk and share and go after things, even going after contracts together. So look out for information regarding that as well. So I want to end the call by what time? I'm doing time. Oh, 6:03. Sorry. But I want to thank our speakers for sharing, Candace and Yvette, for coming on, sharing this great information. This was a great network event, for giving us those tidbits, some success tips. And I want to thank everybody else. And you know how to stay connected to WEOP. Our newsletter will be coming out next week. If you want to go to the state capitol, join us, but go to weop.org and look at all of our current events. And let's all stay connected. So again, thank you, ladies, so much, and I look forward to the next time. Okay, thank you. Bye.